Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. The campaign is Horror on the Orient Express. It's available from Chaosium. I am the Keeper of Arcane Lore, and this is episode 49. Our recap will be given by Stuart Lively as his character, Emmerich of the Suivi. But before we begin, we were out a bit for the last 2 weeks, and we have some new patrons. Our good friend Cthulhu Bob has increased his pledge to $10. Wow. Bridge Drake has pledged $5 a month, and Paul Hotchkiss has increased his pledge to $5 a month. Thank you so much, Cthulhu Bob, Bridge Drake, and Paul Hotchkiss. So without any further delay, let's continue our journey into the darkness. Stuart.
Thanks, Tom. The continued exploits of Tilius Corvus's band of brothers, Galerius, Asinius, Melonius, Belisar, and myself, Emmerich. We ride out a few miles and come to the village of Serence, which had several skin bodies about. We approach the next village and find more bodies, these hacked down, very crow-picked and skinned as well. Continuing to Kalaki, we are attacked by horrific, fleshy monsters with horns, which we managed to dispatch after a fierce battle. 2 young cultists tried to flee the scene, which we apprehended, but ended up killing them, getting little information from them, other than they are followers of the Skinless One, Unwin Galoeth, as they said, and that the army of skin and blood are coming for all at the fort. We decided to quickly return to the fort and ready for the upcoming unholy assault. We give quarter to the sick in one of the barracks, and then turn our attention to building improvised defenses. Belisar and Melonius scout out to determine size and number of the oncoming threat, which they expertly assessed to be many in number and to be upon us that very evening. The horde from hell came, mixed monsters and crazed cultists. We fight the very most terrifying battle of our lives. But in the end, we prevailed, many of the horde fleeing from their failed attempt to destroy the fort. Now is our turn to take the attack to them. Gott mit uns! Charge!
All right. So the battle having been won, the victory is yours. Corvus says to you, I handpicked my best men. I admired these men, and I knew I could depend on you. You did not disappoint me. I've never been prouder to be your commander. Here in the twilight of our careers was the finest battle that we have ever fought. Falcones. Now, it's quite late at night and most dangerous. There's a lot to be done at the fort, or you can go out. You can go tomorrow once there's light. You probably will have an advantage since you've seen that these things don't like the light.
Oh, so when they fled, it was getting very dark already. Okay, I thought
they didn't attack until the evening.
Okay. So I guess running them down isn't in the cards.
That would be pretty dangerous.
Yeah. The pitch dark. That's not good.
Well,
I think it's best if we wait until daybreak and then pursue.
What?
Certainly that the thing on the flayed horse can't be permitted to reorganize.
With your permission, Galerius, I would like to take a couple outside the walls to make sure that our defensives have not been compromised, but not to go beyond an arrow shot.
Permission granted.
Your evaluation is that you probably lost about 20 men, but it looks like at least maybe 75 of theirs were slain in the process. The bravery of the men I mean, it was terrifying at first, but once the battle began, the adrenaline took over, and everybody fought very bravely.
That 75 that fell of theirs, what percentage roughly are we estimating is that of their force? Is that like half of them? Was that like 10% of them?
It's hard to say, but you guessed that was a good, strong amount of their forces.
Okay.
Now, dead bodies apparently can be used in some ways by them, but you've got at least, we'll say, 40 human cultists that were murdered in this, or that were slain. So he's taken a serious. Yeah, you need to nip it in the bud before it rebuilds itself.
Yeah.
Well, the Cyril will accompany you out for the inspection, and we need to round up also, of course, the dead and sever their flesh and put them in a burn pile. We don't want any of them coming back to fight us again or slinking off through the night.
I will watch over you all from afar.
Thank you.
So that probably takes most of the rest of the evening. You've got people working. Some people who fought and are injured are being taken care of by the doctor. Some who are exhausted, I'll manage to get some sleep, but the rest of them help pull the bodies in and burn them in a big pile. So as morning is approaching, what would you like to do? I mean, I know what you're going to do, but describe it for me.
Well, I mean, I think we should assess our men that we have with us to go. Obviously, just the 5 of us are not going to be able to take down this horde.
Yes, we don't want to leave the fort undefended, though, in case things don't go our way.
Maybe the
How many men would you like to take with you? 10 men?
How many
10,
horses?
yeah.
How many horses can they ride so we can be a quick mobile force? If we hear the horns back at the fort call, we could quickly come back to them.
Well, so there's enough for however many people you're going to take.
I think we'll bring, I think 10.
Yeah.
10 of the soldiers with us, leave the rest with the armed civilians.
Okay. So as dawn breaks and the general morale is quite high, you probably did a little bit of drinking as well in celebration. The Longinus, who's in charge of the fort, is all praise. Centenarius Longinus is high praises to you. And it's going to send back marvelous accounts of what you guys were able to do. The weather has cleared just a little bit. There is a bit of blue sky, a sunrise that lights up the horizon with more pink than red, and there's a low, mist near the ground as the 15 of you ride out towards following along the path of destruction that's there. It's indeed going back the way that you had come. It's heading towards Kaliki. And after what may be 45 minutes to an hour, you're now once again approaching that village. You can see that the church itself was desecrated. There are still bodies lying about. In fact, you've seen bodies of both people and creatures that were injured and just didn't quite make it back. Once in Kaliki, you start searching to see if you can find evidence of where they went, and it's not too difficult to realize. that the trails head up into the mountains behind you. They all seem to be heading in the same general direction towards a small valley. But in general, you're heading directly towards the mountain itself.
Is it possible along the way, as we see fallen humans, the cultists, to just dab a little bit of pitch on them and set them ablaze? That should be a pretty quick process. Yeah, I would like, as long as Galerius, if you're okay with that, I think that might be prudent.
It's a job, and it gets done, and you're cleaning this all up, so you're being careful. But you're not going to lose the trail, because the trail is really obvious.
Yeah. All right.
So up into the hills you go, and the path that you follow gets narrower and narrower, and you realize that there is a narrow mountain pass that goes up into the crags of the mountain. You travel for about a half a mile, and it's very creepy. You know that you're going up where these things have come from. The mountains are almost godlike in their stature around you. It's like they're looking down on what you guys are doing. The path gets thinner and thinner. It's maybe only 4 feet wide. At a certain point, you think that you're going to have to leave your horses behind. It's dangerous to be side by side and not be able to have all of your men effectively fight at the same time. By the time that the path gets to its narrowest, you've begun to notice that some of your legionnaires have turned around and gone back. They're too freaked out after the battle. They're too disturbed. Tilius sees it, and he says, "Let them go. They're not ready for this kind of insane fight. I myself feel comfortable with all of you, but I think we're going to have to leave our horses here and go up on foot."
Fellas here, have you seen any place where it's possible to get up over these rocks so that we can descend into this valley from another vantage? I feel as though we're at a distinct disadvantage coming in upon them like this. They've chosen a fine nest.
So sheer cliff to your left. I'm sorry, a sheer cliff to your right, and a going up, and a sheer cliff to your left going down now into the valley.
Is it possible, before the ones who don't want to carry on, is it possible to have them stay back where they feel comfortable at and guard our horses, since we're going to have to leave our horses behind?
We'll say there's enough to do that, yes.
Okay.
That would be prudent.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the path seems to be the only way in, Asinius.
So, upon the path you travel, and it seems like for maybe a mile, you wind up this small path, dirty path with blood on it, path with the occasional damaged body part. But on and on you go. And the mountain itself reminds you of other mountains, especially, volcanic ones. It's very conical as you move up. And at last you come around an outcropping of rocks, and you have reached the top, which isn't a top, it's a huge caldera. This must have been at some point a volcano. And the side of the caldera is smashed out. It's fallen a million years ago, maybe, but as you come up to it, the ground is relatively flat, maybe 25 or 30 feet across, and on all the sides except where you are, There is a sheer 60-foot wall of rock going up, almost as if you're going into a building with no top above it. And what you see ahead of you in the center of the caldera is a pit. The pit itself is almost as wide as the caldera. You'd say maybe 20 feet across. And as you approach it and look, it seems to be, once again, just a sheer drop down into the blackness below. The sun is not yet high enough to cast light down into this pit. Do a spot hidden for me, all of you.
Oh,
36.
hard?
1.
Just a regular.
Mine was a hard, but not an 01.
Well, Asinius, as you're looking at the pit and sort of moving around it, something seems a little odd about the pit. But Galerius, as you're moving with Asinius, you also notice this oddness, and you realize that there is a very clear path going down into this hole. It's camouflaged. It's almost impossible to see until you're right up to it. And you think that you would have to maybe step down, maybe a 3-foot drop, and you would be on this small path. The path looks like it's a couple feet wide, and it spirals down into the caldera.
Are we seeing like traces of what we've been following, the blood and flesh and body parts? Does that sort of extend down there?
Yeah, you're pretty sure. Well, you don't see any down there, but you do see that this is where they would have gone.
Okay, so it leads up to it at least.
Well,
Right.
There aren't hoof prints here. The flayed horse can't have gone this way unless it flies.
it's rock. It's not going to leave hoof prints in the rock.
It might. A horse might have made it up, but it would have been a single horse. And you don't see any horse anywhere around.
Could I make a track roll to see if I could see any indication that a horse had come through here?
Sure.
Okay. I don't see any sign of a horse.
I will also track as I'll help you, Bellison, and have a look. 20 from 35. I'm not the best tracker, but I at least succeeded. Sorry.
Maybe. I mean, you can't really quite tell. It's mostly rock. So there's places where there's rock dust. Maybe that's the edge of a hoof print. You can't really tell.
I can't really tell because of the terrain. It's
Yeah.
Given that horse and its rider are not really alive or dead, it might play by other rules. Descending into this pit where they live, however, it's a pity we can't say get a large mythical bird to drop a whole lot of pitch in this hole and just light it aflame. But I don't have the capacity to do that.
I know, if only.
If we had 2 legions of men with picks and shovels, we could just fill it with stone. But we ourselves have little choice but to. I'd like to throw a lighted brand down there and see if there's a bottom that's just out of sight or what we can get of the terrain.
Okay.
Unless anybody objects. I mean, that will sort of tip them off, but I imagine they anticipate that we're following them in their retreat. Any thoughts?
I thought it was just like a 3-foot drop down to this path that we saw.
That's correct. But then there's the hole. The path goes around.
Oh,
That's the
okay, I
hole
gotcha.
to
That's
say.
what I meant. Oh, yeah. Then
It's like you're looking down a long spiral staircase.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
let me hop down there and kind of get a closer look before you cast that brand down there. Maybe I can get a better view. 3 foot.
Bellis here. as
Yep.
you're looking down, where you are, it seems a rather crude path.
Mhm.
But the farther, the closer you look, you're looking down into a black hole with this spiral going down. The spiral itself really seems oddly regular, like it couldn't possibly be a natural formation.
Right.
It's definitely been worked on. So you've got this black hole. There's also there's no railing, so
Yeah.
getting near the edge is a little odd, but it's not particularly steep.
Mhm.
It does seem that once you would go all the way around, you'd be low enough to where you're not hitting your head on the ledge above you. You're going to drop something down there, some fire, or you said
Yep.
uh,
Burning
okay.
brand. Yep.
You light something on fire, and you hold it out over the hole, and you let it go so that it falls straight down. And you can see that it falls down maybe 100 feet, and then winks out. You don't see anything. It's almost as if it was snuffed out as it fell.
Well, I saw it fall a little a ways down, maybe a few cubits, but I don't think it hit the bottom. It almost went out.
You think maybe 20 turns around, or maybe 18 turns around before you get to where it disappeared.
Is there any smell coming out of this pit?
Yeah, there's the smell of carrion, or the same smell that you've smelled at your camp now because of all those rotting horrors. But it seems strategically difficult because there can't be that many. I mean, you saw the ones that were running. Say you saw 30 creatures running. It would be quite difficult for them all to go down this en masse. They couldn't get down in mass. They couldn't come up in mass. So at the most, two people in front be fighting two people in front of them, or two things in front of them.
Those things. Oh, psycho.
Some of them seem to be able to fling themselves into the air a bit. I'd be worried about. You didn't see, Belisar, any sign of caves off the edges of this path?
I did not.
What, Emmerich, were you thinking?
The size of the creatures, were they significantly bigger than people, or they were just a good sized human?
They're all based on human skin, so
there were a few that were larger than a regular
sort of
man, but a lot of them were sort of slender, hollow human
Okay,
shells.
all right. I was just trying to envision, like, if it's two across for Roman legionaries, but these are big, huge, hulking things. It might only be one in the staircase, but there could be room then for two of them.
There also is a great deal of confidence built up from the battle last night. None of these things, whatever they are trained in battle at all. You guys made short work of a lot of them. They cut like you're slicing canvas.
And that one that latched onto Emmerich, though, was very stubborn about letting go.
It was definitely.
I think maybe. Do you, Melonius, do you have pitched arrows for shooting fire into things?
Yes, I have a few.
I just feel as though we might have better luck with flame than with blade if we have enough of it.
No, we have to be prepared.
Well, you probably have torches as well, so
Yeah.
I mean, we expected they'd be hiding in some dark place, so
right.
I was hoping it was the ruins of the church and not something quite as uncanny as this. I would say, Tilius, do we want to put Emmerich in front with sword and shield, and the bowman right behind him, and the rest of us will follow?
Yes.
If Melonius can fire over Emmerich, then we might be able to pick them off before we meet them on face to face.
It won't be the first time.
When you step forward kind of into the shadows, you do realize that the sky above is lightening enough to where there is light sort of cast down in there, and you can see that it gets shadowier, obviously, as it goes deeper.
Be in the dark. We'd be venturing into the darkness.
Well, nice. Well, let's get this over with. Their greatest strength is their fear, and the longer we stand here, the more it will chew at us.
All right. Slowly you begin to descend. The air becomes chilly as you are going down. You can see what seems to be a floor as you're going down, as you're approaching it. It seems like it's about 100 feet from the opening up above you. But there's something odd about it. I'll do spot hiddens.
Oh, nice. Regular.
96.
I failed.
I failed too.
Regular. Yep.
The Belisir. You're looking at this, and just before they get to the floor and step onto it, you tell them to wait.
Hold
the
us.
The floor is not still. The floor looks like an oil slick. It's got a bit of reflection of sort of the colors, the rainbow sort of reflecting in swirls on top of it.
But
and the more you look at it, the more you look at it, the more you realize it's not liquid either. It just seems to be a mist that blocks the rest of the tunnel going down. It's black, it swirls, it stays at one level. But if you touch your toe into it, you can't perceive there's anything there. If you actually reach down and touch it with your finger, it's cold, but it's neither wet nor solid.
Mm-hmm. And when you put your finger in it, can you see your finger in there? Or is it like
you can't?
Okay.
It's like a wall of darkness, but you can, if you reach in, you can feel the steps below.
And if we thrust a torch below that, do we see the flame still, or is it put out?
Yeah. Okay. It's not put out, but it is definitely not visible when you put the torch into it.
I'm going to make a sanity check.
Last magic.
Yeah, that does seem sort of
literally black magic.
75 is a failure.
82 is a failure.
I just made mine.
Just made mine.
Just take 1 or 2 damage. Two of you fail. It's weird, but it's the only thing that the main thing that concerns you is that there is no railing. So be careful of what you step on. Make sure of your steps.
I'm going to see if we can see and breathe in this first. So I'm going to say Emmerich,
I'll pull you back.
Yep. I'm going to just kind of kneel down and plunge my face into it and, see if I can breathe or if we're walking into a place where we're going to suffocate.
When you put your face into it, it feels cold, like a cold air. But you can't feel it, on your skin. It's almost like it's not there. It's pitch black beyond.
Oh, it is. Okay.
But you didn't put your face and
no. torch in there now. I
torch.
want to see
through.
if you could breathe it first. So
Yes, you can. It just
Okay.
it seems to be the same air.
Mhm. Yeah, I
In
come
fact, I'll give you a, what would you call it? We'll say spot hidden, but it's an awareness.
right. I will spend 1 luck to pass.
There is something else down there that smells, but oddly enough, it doesn't smell bad. It smells kind of like flowers. It's very faint. It's like going to a funeral where the body stinks, but somebody brought flowers too. So it's odd, carnation like.
Yeah. I come up and I describe that to the others about that it is breathable. There seemed to be a pleasant aroma, which I found more unsettling than if I had smelled the stench of death. But I could not see even my hand in front of my face.
Which means that we would have to descend not with a torch in one hand and a weapon in the other, but with a hand on the wall and checking each step with our feet before we set it down.
Yes.
And perhaps the things down there can see perfectly well in it, since it's obviously unnatural.
Yeah, would be walking straight into their hands. Tentacles or whatever.
Wow. This
Well,
is what we
gentlemen,
were
that's
sent-
what our job is, I suppose.
That's right. That's what we were sent here for. Do we want to tether ourselves together? That way, if we become getting separated, will not be as easy.
Or if one falls down the pit, we all go.
Ah, 5 of us
They'll
can.
hold hands.
Yeah. No, Emmerich's hands are sweaty. I don't want to hold his.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the weight of, so we're probably about 9 men now. We have a couple of legionnaires that didn't run away. We have Tilius Corvus. Or are we 6?
Yeah. I think you're probably 6 by now.
I
These
think
men are
that-
too superstitious.
I think that if one of us falls off, the other 5 will keep the balance. But if 2 of us were to topple over, I'm afraid being tethered would mean doom. Do we not?
Tilius, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Tilius says, well, it's been nice knowing you. And he steps forward. You see his feet disappear into the blackness. And he moves. You see him put one hand against the wall, and he's got one hand with a torch. And he steps forward, and you see him slowly sinking. Gets to here, and it gives you, raised eyebrows, and then he plunges underneath it. And the sound of his feet on the steps vanishes. There is no noise. And for a moment, you wonder if everything is okay. And a moment after that, you begin thinking, uh-oh.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then Tilius pops his head back up out of the black, and he says, it's nothing. Once you're past it, it's about 1.5 feet thick. Once you're past it, it's just like you're outside again, except that there's no light.
Right. Yes, I was wondering if we shouldn't wait until noon earlier, but if this thing is impervious to the sunlight, then there's nothing for it.
Well,
Yeah.
Emmerich, if you want to go ahead and protect Tilius,
Yep.
go down
I will
first,
follow
and then as
swiftly.
Asinius suggested, Melonius behind with the bow.
Yes, don't you worry. I'll be right behind Emmerich.
Right.
I'm given my age, I am the
Let's keep you in the
slowest.
center, perhaps.
So I'll be in the center.
in case you need help. As medicus, it's often handy for me to bring up the rear.
Mm-hmm. Let's do it.
Okay. The stepping through the barrier is somewhat disconcerting, but in the end, it doesn't seem to be anything at all. No, a way of blocking the light from above, you think. The spiral widens. It seems to the tunnel, the hole you're going down seems to slowly widen, so that it's more like 50 or 60 feet around each time you go. The path itself also widens to about 4.5, 5 feet wide. On and on you descend, down into the depths of the earth. You can see strange crystals and stalagmites growing from the walls, like from eons. But it also looks like part of this is not. It's not natural. It's got shapes to it. You can see places where there are great blocks of basalt that have been formed into this. And at last, after nearly 400 more feet going down, the step comes out onto a level plane going across, maybe by now nearly 200 feet across. And there is a great archway decorated in a style of almost Romanesque architecture, but there's things that are alien about it. And all of the walls around you sort of glisten in your torchlight. And there are hieroglyphics and strange characters written all of the walls down here. And you can see now clearly that there are still traces of blood and tissue that are leading towards that great arch. It looks like it's going into an underground temple of some sort.
Did you bring plenty of holy water, Emmerich? This place could use a good splash.
One flask only.
Yeah. Well, let's cross ourselves before we go into that obviously damned, this infernal court before us.
Fail.
Okay. As you move towards the archway, you can see that there are a number of, you'd almost call them courts on either side. It's both beautiful and terrifying in the size that to think this is down here, like in the depths of some god's kingdom, the god of the earth, Pluto, or somebody like that. There continue to be hieroglyphics on the walls in some strange language. And there seems to be a slight mist wafting around the floors, which you now no longer can smell much in the way of carrion or death, but you smell this sort of floral, almost like carnations. It's sweet, almost bordering on sickening sweet smell that comes from this. Not unpleasant, but you can do spot hiddens as you're observing this.
Ooh, 100.
31. Pass. Regular.
21 is hard.
77 is.
I got
Those
a
of you
regular
that
success.
those of you that pass notice two things. There is an occasional sound in here, almost like an aspiration, like a breath. And when you hear the breath, and you can sort of feel the breath, you notice that there are little tiny pencil-sized holes all over between the wall and the floor, like along that, within an inch of the wall or so. And every time this happens, a little puff of that mist comes out of those holes and floats along the floor.
Is that the floral scent that's being emitted?
Yeah. It certainly does seem stronger towards the floor.
Does it?
Some sort of incense or perfume.
But it's not like a membrane with holes in it. It's still rock with holes in it.
It's rock.
Okay.
It's rock. It's rock, but it's rock that's definitely been carved and worked and in an attempt to make something both beautiful and grotesque.
Right.
The style of it. You all suddenly hear the echoing of footsteps. In front of you, there are to the sides of you are these two galleries, which just seem to be empty, large rooms. Ahead of you, there are two tunnels, maybe 30 feet across, 30 feet from each other, but they're on that basic wall. Down one of them, you can hear marching as if a patrol was heading in your direction.
Well, then but the other one, there's no sound coming from the other one.
Mm-mm.
I indicate to the others that we should duck into the other tunnel to see if we can access. Of course, making sure that we're not walking into a trap in that way also.
Yeah, good idea. And if we go on either side of that passage, if they decide to come through our corridor we're hiding in, we can ambush them.
Exactly.
Indeed.
They're not carrying any lights, I assume.
Yeah, they probably are. You can probably start to see a glimmer of light down in that direction.
So we don't have to put ourselves into pitch blackness because they're also using light to see. All right. Yes, I'll follow you, Belisir.
All right. You move down this corridor. It's fairly narrow, but you continue to hear that noise behind you. There is a sound behind you as if instructions are being given. You're all used to the military. It sounds like you're standing or following a circular path that may go around that the guards are following. They don't sound any different. They don't sound like monsters or anything like that. They sound like they're probably the cultists. They're speaking Gothic, and basically just making sure nobody comes into the temple, which you've already gotten in. There's also a large door, a large path behind you, sort of perpendicular to the chamber you're in, that seems to lead into something, and it doesn't smell very good in that direction. And it's pitch black in that direction.
Those
and
of
it
us
also
who
goes
have
forward, it continues to go forward.
Those of us who have some Gothic hear echoes of words like left and over there, sort of nothing. Yeah. So I guess the large chamber that smells of meat is where we should go and start some fires.
Makes sense to me.
And perhaps they all sleep in the day, and we can behead the horseback rider, Olwyn or Othwin or whatever his blasted name is.
Yep.
So yeah, I'll make a foray with torch high and hand on hilt into the smellier place to the side.
Okay. You step in there with your torch, and move forward, and you would guess that this was some sort of formal once again, a formal chamber. This almost seems like a royal court of some sort. But you glimpse a number of wooden structures down at the end, and you realize that there are beds, and that this might be a makeshift barrack. Do a luck roll as you.
I did spend a good chunk of luck in the battle, but
I succeed.
98. That's
Okay.
very bad.
Huh.
So as you're standing there and you notice this, all of a sudden you notice somebody get up or sit up in the bed, look over at your firelight and say, something in Gaelic, which those of you who know Gaelic, Gothic is something like, "What the fuck are you?" Like this. And he suddenly raises the alarm. Intruders!
I shoot my crossbow, my man ballista, as
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he can yell faster than I can squeeze, but
And
you can go ahead and roll to see if you hit him.
I shoot as well, so
regular for
I got a hard success on shooting.
Okay. Well, I'll say with the both of you, you both get him. Probably speared through with bolts and so forth. However, you suddenly realize there are at least 10 cultists that have been sleeping in here. And that noise, of course, alerts them all. And but they are undressed, unarmed, and
untrained.
And unblooded soon.
Yeah. I know, not 10.
All right, we'll give you each 2 as they come rushing at you.
Put some clothes on.
Or you could rush at them. Put some clothes on.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna rush at them because I want to catch them when they're still kind of, how you're kind of in a stupor when you first wake up.
Yeah. I'm going to give you bonus dices because you have a big advantage at this point.
Okay.
Does anyone know offhand whether the spatha is a one- or two-handed sword?
I think spatha is a one-handed sword, isn't it?
Yeah, it could be either. It could be either. It's definitely wieldable with one hand.
In torchlight, I think there is little choice, so that will be my choice, rather than trying to chuck spears around in here. So
I rolled with a bonus dice, and all 3 dice came up 6, so my lucky number. So, which is a hit for 5 points.
All right. Well, we'll just say that you slice through one of them.
Okay.
Got it.
Naked skin against a gladius or a spatha is not much.
My first blow is a hard success, and I rolled an 8.
Nice.
Okay. Once again, you smash somebody's head in. Emmerich.
Oh, I rolled a hard hit and 9 points of damage.
You cleave one from top to the bottom with your sword. Galerius.
I got a hard success and rolled an 8 for damage.
Okay, same thing. That chopped that poor naked guy's leg completely off. It is now a bloodbath here. Melonius.
Yeah, I got a hard success and rolled 8 points. So I basically still use my bow because Wildbow got a bit of range at me.
All right, you have already dispatched 5 of them. There's 5 more, and it's your turn again because they'll fight on the next one. I give you an advantage. You have.
I didn't even use my bonus die last time. I forgot my delirium.
Rock dice.
We're gonna make the fighting easy.
The regular. Well, I mean, because the guard is going to hear them screaming in pain. So
yeah.
So that's a regular success and a 6 if I connect.
Yeah, that does it. Kill another one.
I got a hard success and a 7 for damage.
Okay. How are you doing it? What weapon?
With the spatha.
Oh, right. Yes, you kill another one. 3 left.
I rolled
I
rolled a hard and got 9 damage.
Wow. Yep. Dead.
I rolled a normal, and let me just roll the damage. 9 points of damage also.
Like we're competent fighters. I don't like it.
This is
action.
It's like you're trained. Emmerich?
I got an extreme success with an 09 and 9 points of damage.
Nice.
So you cleave a head clean off. And just as you cleave that head off, 5 men, these ones actually dressed in their cultists' red cloaks, come rushing down that tunnel that you were in and enter this same area. You guys are now on one end where the beds were, and they're coming in the same entrance you did. They see you and they come running like this. You can see instantly that they don't have any kind of training in battle.
Mm-hmm. Good.
For the first time, I'm pulling out my short sword and just holding my bow in hand.
Okay. Why don't you all roll for your attack?
Initiative? Or not initiative.
No, we're just going to attack at the same time.
Oh, that is actually a 32 is actually a hard on my short sword, so
Okay.
9 is regular success.
89.
Oh. I got a regular, but I only rolled 3 points of damage.
I got
we
6
must
points.
we must be in sync, Bella, sir, because I also rolled 3 points of damage.
Yeah, just got an
And
ear.
Emmerich, how'd you do?
May I roll, or may I use 3 points of luck to make it a hit?
Sure.
Thank you. I will spend 3 luck.
So the only one that gets through your ranks is the one that goes after Asinius. He is going to he hits. He's going to roll for damage. He only gets 2 points of damage, so he slices into your at a weak joint in whatever you're wearing, and cuts you pretty badly.
So my chain armor does not help because he's found a.
Oh, I forget. You can
So yeah, roll your 1d8, I think.
Yeah. 7. So I do not take damage.
Right. He hits you pretty good and hard, but he doesn't take damage.
I'll probably have a nasty bruise there.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I'll take that opportunity. Aha, 28 is a hard success with the spatha. He came in close.
Okay. So you ram your spatha right up through his chest and into his back of his neck, and he looks surprised. You've noticed that all of these people have bits of flesh removed from their bodies. They've carved things into their skin, but in a matter of minutes, you have easily dispatched 15 of their troops. And at the moment, you hear distantly some sort of commotion going on, but at the moment, nobody's rushing into where you are.
Do we want to take a moment to try to make a pyre for these bodies so that these 15 skins don't join the mass, or do you think it takes long enough that we don't have to worry about that?
Oh, I don't think they've been infected with whatever causes that.
Right. All the bodies in the pit were victims of the disease before they sloughed off.
These,
right.
I'm not worried about them.
Good.
There is no other exit out of this area.
Oh,
this is a dead end.
So I guess we will leave.
Yeah, we've done our job here.
Do we want to go
Cautiously.
back to the juncture where we heard these guards coming and go that way?
Yeah, I mean,
I still want to
that
find
there was
the
command
bandit who
down
was
there.
riding the horse.
Yeah,
So, yes.
the flayed horse is our target, I think. The rider of the flayed horse, Unwin.
So, yeah, your choice is to go back to that area or continue to go forward in the tunnel, deeper into the mountain.
I think deeper.
yeah, me too.
But with just to be safe, I don't know. I think it wouldn't take too long to just dab a little bit of pitch on each of these people and set them ablaze. The reason being they may not quickly turn, but should we fail, this would be depriving the enemy of resource.
As soon as you said dabble pitch on it, I had already started doing that because
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, it just doesn't take a lot, just enough to get a fire going and then let it kind of spread on its own. But
it smells so good.
yeah, we'll be out of here shortly.
Go on then.
Deeper into the mountain.
All right. The tunnel you're in winds for a bit, and then all of a sudden it opens up. And in this case, you can see light. It opens up into a large central cavern. The ceiling is only about 15 feet above your head, and you can see that it was originally composed of fitted stone in a kind of circular pattern holding the roof up. There are a number of columns, pillars. However, they're all encrusted with stalactites. It's as if they've been here millions of years. And as this room is open, when you survey it, there are galleries sort of raised up platforms all the way around in circles, with lettering on the wall in some ancient language. They look like they are carved of gold in the walls, and they glitter in the light. This room is carved as if it were the inside of some gigantic Byzantine cathedral. It's got a domed sort of area. And there are a couple of things. You can see that to your right, there is a tunnel leading back out again, which you think was probably the tunnel that the guards came from. So it's a big circle of tunnels. This is decorated as a temple, and in the center of the temple, which is the center of the room, it's not like at the far end like in a church. It's right dead center in the room. There is a strange encrusted stalactite-written platform that sits up maybe 3 or 4 feet off the ground. And on top of it, at first, you're not sure what you're looking at, but there are large stalactites that come down and sort of make that sort of flow stone around things. But there is a huge statue in the center, looking from a distance to be some sort of heroic, statue, the statue of a god, covered in this flow stone, and standing there. And then beyond that, you can see an archway leading into another area that looks important from the way the building is designed. And something about
the figure.
Okay. Something about the walls too is very attractive. The golden lettering, it's very strange looking.
I wouldn't mind taking a little retirement fund out of this place once business is done.
All right. Asinius, you walk towards the figure in the center of the room. Do a willpower roll.
My.
Uh-oh.
Extreme success. 4 for my 70.
Okay. You walk towards it, and it looks very much in the realistic sort of style. The man who is depicted seems to have very beautiful classic Roman features, but he looks very severe. It doesn't look like Roman work, though, and there's kind of an odd polish to it. It's been polished. Maybe it's the flow stone. Maybe it's some other factor, but it's almost it got an iridescent sheen to it as you approach it.
So from the fact that it's covered with stone that's accrued in this cave over eons, it must be very old, but it looks like sort of modern work and like a contemporary human.
It's in perfect condition.
Is
only
it
in
stone?
the fact that it's, well, the more you look at it, the more you realize you can't quite place what it is. Almost looks like made out of maybe seashell or mother of pearl. It's
Iridescent.
got a sort of fascination to it as you look to it.
And it's no Roman god.
No, not that you've ever seen. I'd like you to do a sanity roll as you're looking at it, as you begin to realize that you're quite familiar with that face. It's yours.
Oh. And I failed my SAN roll too.
1d4. What are the rest of you doing?
I mean, looks like a statue. You said there was another exit in this room on the other side?
On the far end of the room. Yeah, there's an archway going out. It looks like there are, in fact, tapestries that are hung in front of it.
Okay. That's where I'm going to go because that's where I would think a threat would come from.
Okay. Emmerich, what are you doing?
I will go with Belisir on the other side of that entrance. So just sort of.
You've noticed that Asinius seems to be standing still, staring at the statue. Galerius, Polonius. You also notice
what is this, Asinius?
I was about to strike it with my sword because whatever it is, it's blasphemous. But does it look familiar to you?
I'll take a closer look at it.
And indeed, it does look familiar to you. It looks like you.
It's like polished metal. It's a mirror. It's me. I passed my sanity.
0 then.
Do you think it's the god of these people or a representation of their god?
I think it's more of a representation than the god itself.
Well, you know,
it is
pagans.
Naked, by the way. It is naked, like a god would be. I would also like Melonius, are you with them? I'd like you also to do another willpower roll.
Everybody?
Just the 3 of you that are looking at the statue.
That's a hard success.
96. I don't have enough luck to make that a pass if I wanted to.
All right. So who fell? Just Galerius? Okay. The 2 of you are looking at it. You notice that that the pedestal itself also has this gold writing on it, although most of it is obscured now because of the flowstone and the stalactites and so forth. Galerius, you notice that as well, and you look over at the walls, and you think maybe there's some sort of a correlation over there. And as you walk over and you look at the writing on the walls, that sort of sweet smell seems to fill your mind. And you can see that there are, once again, these little puff holes all over the place. And there's something vaguely familiar about that writing. And as you stare at the writing, it seems that you can sort of understand it. It would only take you maybe a few more minutes of looking at it before you'd be able to figure out exactly what it's saying. Meanwhile, the other four of you, Emmerich and Bellis here, you've become alarmed. Asenius has probably called you over. Melonius, you're there as well. Galerius is staring at the walls, and he's been standing there for nearly 20 minutes, and he won't move.
What's Tullius Corvus doing?
He's watching.
He's staying behind so he can write this book that we read later.
He's with you, we'll say.
Yeah.
So
I'll go over to Galerius and kind of like, put my hand on his shoulder to try and get his attention.
It doesn't work. And you can see he's looking at the walls. His eyes are going back and forth, and he is mumbling to himself in some strange language.
Galerius, do not read the blasphemy.
Noggle.
I'll try and step into his vision.
When you step in front of him and block his view, he just sort of pushes you out of the way.
Cthulhu. Yeah.
Galerius, you can do you can roll for sanity. It's 0 or a 1d3.
I passed. So 0.
Okay, so you take 0, but you start to lose magic points. You'll lose a magic point every round as you're doing this.
I'd like to try to use a potion on him, whatever the Roman equivalent of smelling salts would be. Just something to jar him out of this.
Something that smells kind of foul and
bring him back to himself. I have a hard success for potions. I don't know what that means I have in my kit or what I can whip up or how that works.
Okay. You're trying to do something to shock him out of it. You use something that smells nasty, whatever it would be, like smelling salts.
Got a strong ammonia compound.
When you do that, he shakes his head, closes his eyes, but you still find he's trying to get back into it, and you have to literally shake him before it sort of the spell is broken. At the same time, Galerius, you seem to have absorbed information. Things and secrets that contradict everything you've ever believed in. You can gain 1d10 Cthulhu mythos in the process.
3.
And there is a strong desire in your heart to read all of the walls in here and find out the whole story, but you might shoot yourself or fall on your own sword because it's so horrifying.
Melonius was waiting to put him out of his misery, just in case.
No,
well, he seems to be.
It's this place, this statue.
We need to get you out of here, Galerius, before you go.
Without skin, the court at the center of all things.
Galerius, you're talking in tongues.
The messenger, the harbinger, the one of many faces,
Yeah, don't
innumerable,
start
skinless,
This
Don't
man
start-
has gone mad.
picking at
From
yourself or
beyond.
anything.
the courier, the messenger, the will of the court,
Galerius,
the
calm
dreamer,
down.
the great dreamer must stay asleep.
Did you get any idea where the rider of the flayed horse is from all of this? Your eyes are not right. Come on. We all sat at your knee once. Pull your shit together.
Just getting an arrow ready, just in case.
Yeah.
I'm still guarding the entrance.
Why don't
Okay.
Belisir, you and Emmerich had gone to the curtain there. Maybe you should take Galerius with you. Maybe a little combat will straighten his senses.
Emmerich, you're still over by the tapestries, the curtains.
Yeah, the entrance. So if anyone tried coming in here, I'd be able to, from the corner, bushwhack him.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you're back where you came in.
Yeah. So
There's
basically,
an arch in and an arch out.
Yeah.
And Belisir, you're over near.
I'm because I went over to Galerius, but now I'm gonna, as Asinius suggested, I'm gonna try and guide Galerius toward the tapestry because I'm like,
Okay.
we're soldiers.
Screaming.
Combat pulls us back.
Screamingly, sentient, dumbly delirious, only the gods that were can tell. Sickened, sensitive shadow writhing in hands that are not hands, and word blindly past ghastly midnights of rotting creation. Corpses
Yes.
of dead worlds with sores that were cities. Charnel winds that brush the pallid stars and make them flicker low. Beyond the world's vague ghosts of monstrous things. Half-seen columns of unsanctified temples.
Galerius!
On nameless rocks beneath space and reach up
Galerius!
to
And we will. Then let us be done with it. Let's go.
This. And through this revolting graveyard.
I gotta like
Belis-
backhand him.
Galerius, you'll need to stop before I shoot you.
But Belisir, do a luck roll.
Maddening
Okay.
beating of drums and thin monstrous whine of blasphemous flutes from inconceivable
Pass.
unlighted chambers beyond
Okay.
time.
So Belisir, all this is going on. You were getting ready to go over to where the tapestry was, but you're getting in that. You're near there.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the corner of your eye, you see movement. Thank goodness, because as you turn, this tapestry, which is not a tapestry, seems to be a bunch of stitched together skins. It suddenly rises up as if it were blown by the wind, and it lashes out with you. Instead of fringe, it has claws on the base of it, and it's trying to wrap itself around you.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna swing at it.
Okay.
Especially like trying to sever the claws off of the bottom of it.
Okay.
37. That is a hard.
Okay. You slash at it, do some damage to it. Everybody else, you now seen that this tapestry is actually a living thing.
5 points.
And what do you all want to do? Okay, you slash into it, but it continues. Now it's got more or less two arms.
Yeah. It's like a hydra. Made it worse.
Well, I
What
was
the
ready
rest
to
of you
shoot
wanna do?
Galerius,
Yeah.
so I have my arrow ready, so I'll just shoot it.
Okay.
Sinius,
go ahead
bring
and
the
see if you hit it.
torch.
Yeah,
I'm gonna spend a few points to look. 5 points to be precise to succeed.
All right. You hit it, but your bolt, it's just skin. It goes through it. It rips a little hole, and it doesn't seem much phased by it.
Oh, why didn't
Uh,
I use my fire arrows? Why didn't I?
yeah. I'm gonna take one of our little I don't know whether we carry the pitch we brought in little jars or in sacks,
yeah.
but
Coated
maybe in
sack.
leather. Yeah. I'll splash the flesh curtain with some pitch and try to drag the torch through it.
Okay. Do that's a maneuver. Go ahead and see if you can do that.
Oh, I rolled exactly my unarmed brawl skill.
You
regular.
You rake it with the torch, and it suddenly goes up, and it writhes around as if it's screaming, and it's rustling, and you can see it crackling and quivering as it suddenly begins to fall apart in front of you. Valerius, the shock of this is enough to sort of bring you back to yourself and realize evil, magic, dark, devilry is going on here.
Galerius,
We have to put an end to this blasphemous place.
we must.
Read.
I was very close to having to put you out of your madness.
I'm not an old dog, Melonius.
Yes, but you were compromised.
Compromised?
You're a little
What
bit of an
what
old
does that
dog.
mean?
Old timey word for compromised. They're dying search.
Yeah. Well,
So what's in the chamber beyond where the
You
tapestry
can
was
see
hanging?
it's a much smaller chamber, but it's equally and as meticulously decorated. You look through the door. There seems to be a carpet that stretches across the floor, a slightly sunken down circular room. It seems to be composed of small mounds of fur, but the fur is all different colors. Browns and reds and yellows and blacks and things
human.
like that.
We found the scalp room, guys. Can anybody get some more pitch? I just lost some pitch.
Across the room, however, there stands on a dais a man. Is he a man? He is taller than the average man, maybe 7 feet tall. He has loose-fitting robe, and if you you couldn't really see him that well, but this may be the man with who you
The
saw,
rider of the flayed horse.
the rider of the flayed horse. And in fact, you see across the room towards the side, you can see the flayed horse tied up there, and it's much worse than you thought. This is a dead thing that's been reanimated, and you can see bones. And as you enter the inner sanctum, the thing on the dais says, Dauthu bliss, Dauthu bliss. Who knows the Gothic? He says, doomed to die. You are doomed to die. You can join me, or you can die, and then you will join me. I am Unwin Gawalith, God on earth, teacher of the way of the skinless one. Bow before me or die. And at that point, you also notice that the room is decorated with what at first you thought were more skin tapestries. But on all of the skin tapestries, there's maybe 8 of them around the room. They all have Roman legionary tattoos on them. They're the skins of your comrades and your soldiers.
Oh, that's horrific. I will immediately take pitch and burn the closest one to me.
Well, he's not going to let you set the room on fire. So
Yeah.
he begins coming towards you with this horrified look. I mean, this sort of monstrous look on his face. And when you raise up your sword, he raises up a very strange looking knife.
Yeah.
It glints
might-
oddly, not
Glints
only in the
oddly.
firelight.
Seems lit by its own bluish light. And as you raise up your swords, he raises up his hands and says something in a weird language. And the skin things on the wall, all 8 of them, suddenly come to life and move towards you once again, as if more of these dead skin things, this time with your comrades' tattoos. So once again, you go into battle.
Is that a sand check, seeing all of our friends' skins all turning into monsters?
I think that's safe
I'll
to
say yes, but at the same time, you guys are so angry at this point, and this devil in front of you is so abhorred by you. You're not going to take much sanity damage, at least not yet.
Pass.
Well, I failed.
If you fail, just take 2 points of damage. Otherwise, don't take any. So let's each have you do one, and we'll call it at that. So these things are flying at Belisir. One of them is.
Okay.
You do Belisir.
I will swing at it, and I got a 0-2.
Oh, sweet. You cleave the thing in half, and somehow that does seem to do it. It's damaged to the point where it falls to the ground. Emmerich, what are you going to do? It's one's coming towards you.
Okay, so it's trying to attack me, so I'll try to attack it. So since this is so sudden, my original goal was to light them on fire, but since this is leaping at me, I won't have time to ready that, so it'll have to be just a sword swing. And of course, I drop my D10. 1 second.
Not so easy to do with the armor.
Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Okay, where are we? Okie dokie, 73. So that's just a regular pass.
Okay. I actually got a hard. So as you swing down your sword, the thing seems to somehow wrap itself around your arm, so that the arm you have with the sword in it is suddenly held fast, and it starts to pull itself towards you and forming fangs in order to attack. Asinius.
That's a whole hard success.
I got a 007.
Oh, yeah.
You'll need to know one to beat that.
I will. Right. Yeah, that's very expensive. Okay. Similar fanging. It's pinned
Yes,
my sword arm.
It rushes towards you and tries to wrap itself around you and immobilize you so that it can sink its fangs in. Galerius.
11. That's an extreme success.
That's way better than I did. So
Only 2 damage.
okay. So you do damage to it. Do you slice into it? But it's still coming at you. Melonius.
Using my sword this time and not my bow, holding my bow in one hand and using my sword. 98 is not a success at all.
I got a 97, so I win. No.
Yeah.
No. Neither one. Where you're parrying back and forth with this thing as you go.
Even using my bow as well.
All right, back to Belisir. This time I'm attacking you.
Okay.
I did not attack. I did not manage to get you.
I did hit. I got a regular. So
Okay. So you've what's your damage?
7.
Okay, you slice up this thing and cut it. On your next turn, you can help the others. Emmerich, this thing is trying to pull itself towards you to give you a bite.
Okay. Let's see. So I'll try to kind of like swing it, the sword around to kind of inversely cut it as it's trying to do that to me. Hopefully we can get a good pulling cut on it. Oh, phooey. It's another not too great hit. So that's 63. So it's an average. It's a regular hit. Hopefully he's not quite as good.
I got a 19.
Oh, darn it. He's on me.
So it wraps itself around you and it brings itself in to try and bite you. And its fangs clink against the armor in your so it hasn't gotten a bite on you yet. Asinius.
Given that the thing wrapped itself around me sword arm first so I couldn't swing at it, I'm hoping that I've got a little more freedom with my torch arm, and I'm going to try to thrust the torch into its face as its fangs,
Okay.
unheeding of burning myself, because I would much rather suffer
Burn
that
yourself,
pain
yeah.
than be one of his minions.
Right.
And that is a hard success for Brawl.
And I fail. So
What do
your
you want to do about burn damage?
let's see. Let's roll a 1d8. These things are pretty dry.
6.
Okay. I'll say that you light the thing on fire. As it tries to form fangs to get you, you thrust your thing into it, and it reacts by extricating itself from you. Hilarious. Actually, you killed yours, didn't you?
I dealt 2 to it.
Okay.
It was Belisir that killed the first that attacked him.
I got
Right,
the hard
yeah.
success with the 25.
Yeah, I got 000.
Oh, yeah.
So you grab this part, and you grab this part. And just... Melonius.
Let's go. 95.
Ouchies.
I am not having any luck at this combat.
I didn't get anything either. So you're just fighting with the thing.
It's just a block off at this point.
Yeah, I think there are 2 of them left, maybe, which is all what you're already engaging with. The people who aren't directly engaging at the moment, you look over at Unwin Gawalith, and he raises his hands up, holding the knife in his hand, and he's chanting something in this ugly, dark language. And as he does, it's almost as if his robe, imagine, if you will, somebody blowing something right into the front of him so that his robe raises up and flaps sort of in the wind. And that's when you realize that his robe is his skin. It's forming tentacles around him. And all of a sudden, his jaw seems to unhinge, and this whole part of his face unwinds and forms itself into a kind of bat-like creature in the air that comes flying at you to attack. So he's now mostly, literally skinless.
Yeah.
All right, back to Belisir. What do you want to do? I think you killed yours, so...
Yeah, I'm gonna charge at this. So there's a bat-like thing that's kind of flying. Did I understand? Did he leave his rest of his body behind?
Yes. Well, and his body seems to be still continuing to move.
Yeah, I'm going to attack the body. if I can. If the bat thing's in the way, then I'll attack that.
Okay. The bat got a 90, so it's flying overhead. You go ahead and
I got a regular
okay.
for 4 points.
Okay. You slash at him for 4 points, but he has what we've all guessed is the Memsahis in his hand. And he swings that at you, and you almost can hear a buzzing sound as it goes by you. He got a 007.
Oh.
So that knife hits you, and we'll say it only does 2 points of damage, but it cuts through your armor, your leather, your chain, everything, as if it wasn't even there.
Oh my God.
Warm butter. Ah, foul beast.
You shall not gain advantage over Unwin Gawaleth. I will lead you to truth. Worship the skinless one or die.
I think
Tilius is also fighting in all of this. So. All right. Who's next? Emmerich?
All right, I will try. Let's see if I can, with this, wiggle the sword in and cut out a spectacular. Ooh, a 3 is spectacular.
Okay. You're using a hand knife?
My gladius in short, so.
Okay. You punch your gladius through the membrane of the thing and start working your way around. There's a moment when it continues to attack that it's sort of almost making a rustling, screamy sort of sound. And then it suddenly is trying to get away from you. Yeah. But you've got as much of a hold on it as it has on you.
And if I see like the tattoo of like, say, the 7th Legion or the 5th, I make an insult in Latin to that legion because they were never any good anyway.
Okay.
All right.
Asinius.
Yes. Having kicked aside the charred flesh, I'm going to sheath my sword and start going at our cult leader with spears, because I don't want him to get near me with that weird blue knife. Well, that's only a regular success with a spear.
Okay.
But he is kind of engaged, so he might not get out of the way.
He's engaged in 3 ways. One is that his skin is attacking, his face is attacking, and his body is attacking. So Belisir has his body preoccupied. We'll say that your spear cuts under Unwin's arm and pins that skin cape to the wall behind him.
Doesn't stop the knife being born, but is he still chanting somehow, even though his face is in parts?
No, now he's just, it's hard to tell if he's smiling because all you can see is his, but he seems confident and filled with hatred in his eyes. Galerius, that thing is flying at you, that abomination, the bat creature thing made from his face.
I'm going to try to hack it out of the air.
Okay. It's
with
fast.
an 02.
It's quick. Oh, that beats my roll. You guys are really good. All right. So you whack it with the end of your sword. Go ahead and do some damage.
If I spend 1 point of luck and make it into 1, will I get max damage?
You'll destroy it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll spend 1 point of luck to make that an 01.
Okay. You not only knock it out of the air, you knock it to the ground and stomp it to death, or if it's already dead, whatever it is. Melonius.
Yes. I'm still in combat with my thing, so let's get an 11, which I think is hard because I'm only using my sword. So
I got a
yeah, it's a hard
37.
success.
So, all right, do some damage.
You 7 points of damage.
Okay, that's enough. You bring the thing down. You put one foot on it. You grab another part of it and slice it into pieces.
That is what you get.
The battle's crazy. There's all of this skin flying everywhere. Not so much blood, as you'd be surprised. These things don't really have much blood. And slowly, the battle over the course of a few minutes, it punches forward and it pushes forward and it backs this thing, Unwin Gawalith, back up onto the pedestal, back up against the wall. Your swords are in perfect form. You slice. All of his defenses seem to be knocked down, and Belisir, you almost all in unison. Belisir, you run your sword through one shoulder, Melonius through the other. Emmerich, you bring your spatha down on the guy's leg and pin him, and Galerius, you and Arsenius manage to stop all of the other things that are going on. And with one thrust, Tilius Corvus moves forward, and his spatha goes right into the heart of the thing. And he says, "That's enough of that. We cast you down, devil. We send you to the bowels of hell." And the thing says, "I will not be so easily defeated. I am Unwin Gawalith, immortal Avatar.
Shut up already.
I will not."
You like just stab him again?
Oh, he's been stabbed multiple times.
I'm just gonna stab him again for the sake of it. He's annoying me now.
Like when they killed Caesar. Yeah, we've all stabbed him. Melonius, you step back and pull your sword out. So does Belisir, Emmerich, Cineas, and Galerius. You all step back to survey this, and finally, Tilius pulls the sword out. And in that moment, it's as if Unwin Gawalith's chest breaks open, and a flood of blood, like far too much blood you've never seen such a thing, like a fire hydrant going off. It blasts Tilius, and Tilius flies back off the podium and lands on his back, and the floor is drenched in blood. And the five of you are unharmed, but you move back from the horror as Unwin's body seems to sort of dissolve and fall apart in front of you, as if there wasn't really much holding it together in the first place. And it's suddenly it's quiet. If there were any skin things that were still wiggling, they suddenly stop wiggling.
Does the horse kind of like fall
the
apart
horse
also?
The horse suddenly just collapses,
Okay.
as if it was a pile of garbage sitting there.
I would feel better if we still lit it ablaze.
Ugh. Of course. Cast it into the
You're
fire.
bleeding, Belisar.
It's hard to tell with all the blood that he sprayed us, but it seems like he's cut through my armor like it wasn't even there.
Jeez.
You should take that blade of his. It glows with unholy light. Let me see to that arm.
Yes, we should
who knows that I assume that blood was from all the sacrifices he's made to it over God knows how long, and it might be tainted in a number of ways.
We can't leave these blasphemous objects where they can continue to wreak havoc in the world. We should bring them back to where they'll be safe in Constantinople.
Of course.
Maybe that large statue should be toppled. Push that over.
Tilius isn't moving.
Oh.
Tilius.
Oh,
Tend to him first, Asinius. I'm still on my feet.
It becomes immediately apparent he's unconscious at the moment, in sort of as if somebody has a severe concussion. You realize that there's quite a big lump on the back of his head where he hit the ground. He's drenched in blood. But after a few moments, he opens his eyes and he looks up at you and he says, What happened? We killed him. Yes, he's dead, right? No further nightmare. And he laughs and he's like, huzzah, or not huzzah, but he says, we have triumphed now back to Constantinople, and can tell and he rolls his eyes and just passes out once again on the ground. He's breathing.
I want to make sure that his passages are clear because of that blast of blood. It might, that might, and then we'll have to make a simple litter to bear him out. That he took a good blow. I think we should bear him away and then instruct the locals to build a pyre at the top of this pit so that we can fill it with cleansing charcoal for as long as it takes for there to be nothing left of this temple. Unless we need to take some gold.
That might be a good idea.
Well, we have a knife that will help us get that gold nice and easy.
Oh, yeah.
That is true. All right. So, Tilius, in a few moments of consciousness, while you guys are taking it out, becomes very concerned because he's been keeping the record of everything. So he makes sure he turns that over to one of you, Galerius, to continue the record so that we can present this to the magistrate when we get back. But he falls back into unconsciousness along the way. So to speed this along, you travel back to the fort. You travel back to Cyzicus, I believe. You cross the strait. You get back to Constantinople. All of the problems solved before the commencement ceremony. Magister Militum Alexius Gemellus, he hears your report. He takes the information that you've given him. He listens in wonder and amazement at your story. He takes the Mem Sahis to put it in safety, and he is completely satisfied that your mission is a success. Tilius is in and out of consciousness, and what you do is you take him to his fiance's house, Evdokia, and she will nurse him back to health. And you're told by the magistrate that you will be rewarded, but there's so much going on with the Nova Roma. He's going to wait until afterwards, but then he'll call you and give you all your rewards.
Of course.
The ceremonies for the Grand Commencement Festival begin on the 2nd of April, 30. I can't say it. They begin on April 2nd, 330 AD, and they continue for 40 days. So during the 40 days, you reminisce, you laugh, you go back to whatever businesses you're doing, you set up whatever you're going to do. Not just you, but the others, you're all sort of friends, you tell stories, you carry on, you keep some stuff on the down low because the magistrate doesn't want them to know about diseases or anything, but you tell close members of your families and so forth. On the 40th day of the celebration, the 11th of May, 330, the ceremony concludes with a massive procession in the Hippodrome. The entire population attends to see a huge statue of Constantine wheeled around the area, escorted by soldiers in ceremonial dress, bearing lighted tapers, followed by chariot races. The new name of the city is Nova Roma Constantinopoliana, New Rome, the city of Constantine. This is engraved on the stela at the Strategion.
And
then
Tilius recovers completely over time?
He's you send messages and ask, and Evdokia tells you that he's got doctors that are coming to see him, and he seems to be getting maybe a little better every day. So after all of that has taken place, in fact, on the last day of the commencement, a well-dressed Greek youth delivers joyful news to the investigators. He is a messenger in the service of Lady Evdokia, and he reports that his mistress's fiancé, Tribuni Comitis Tilius Corvus, has recovered from his injuries and grows stronger daily. They are all invited to a small wedding celebration on board her family's luxury barge, the Plethora. He explains that Tilius Corvus told him personally to make sure that they got the message and urge them to join him at this festival, on this festival occasion. The messenger smiles and says, he mentioned something about his poor judgment and said you'd understand. So the reception takes place on the evening of the 12th of May. That morning, you are called in by the magistrate. The magistrate informs you that because of the things you've done, as they've been detailed, he salutes all of you, and he gives you discharge papers. You're discharged from the military. Anything that you want, deeds to land, properties within the city, a minor government appointment, he's willing to grant you each anything you like, as long as it's not too far, but he does all of that. And then he says, understanding that you are now free men, you're out on your own, I'd like to know if you would like to take on another assignment. The magical knife that was recovered from your experience has disappeared. We believe that it was stolen while everybody was busy with the commencement and everything. But we would like you, at least perhaps in the next month or so, to put together a team and see if you would be willing to. Of course, you don't have to, but you are an incredibly good team. I would ask Tilius, but that the woman that he's marrying has him on a rather short leash.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to lose him again. And I think I shouldn't pull him away. You
As
agree?
little as I want to be involved with that situation again, I personally think that the hard-won knowledge we have cannot readily be replaced. At least a couple of us should go and deal with it because we understand things are possible that nobody else will believe.
Well, think about it and report back to me maybe in a month and tell me what you want to do. Right.
Yes, I'll have to think on it.
That night, you board the Plethora, a luxurious, wide-hulled pleasure barge decorated with silken banners of purple and white, hung with lanterns. Soft music from a group of players fills the air. The reception is a small one. The investigators and about 24 other guests, most of whom you know, at least in passing or maybe as drinking buddies. The bride and the groom are below decks getting ready. Everyone is dressed in colorful flowing garments with intricate geometric patterns, the latest fashion. The barge paddles out of harbor and anchors a mile or so offshore with the silhouette of the new capital illuminated by the slowly setting sun. Several colors of I don't know that word. Several plates of fine food are served along with various wines and ales. At sunset, the lamps are lit. Lady Evlogia and Tilius Corvus make their entrance to the applaud of their guests. Corvus nods as his men, but seems distant, perhaps focused on his momentous occasion, in his life. A young priest named Theodoric, one of Lady Evlogia's nephews, marries the couple. They exchange their vows and kiss, but the investigators do a spot hidden.
Oh, Tilius, I see all. I rolled a 4.
I succeeded also.
I
Yeah.
have drank too much with an 88.
Nice. Hard.
Standard pass.
There's something about Tilius's demeanor that seems a bit odd. He seems distracted and a little more serious than you would expect him. You've known him so many years, and he's a very jovial person, but he seems kind of out of sorts. Maybe he's still recovering a bit. He looks kind of pale. And as Evlogia and Corvus are pronounced as man and wife, he goes out for a toast to the happy couple. Wine is poured for everyone all around. Okay, it's giving me instructions. Yeah, he says he raises a glass to everyone, and he says, I drink to my friends, to all the friends of Tibuni, Comites Tilius Corvus. And he looks at you directly. He says, Godspeed and good luck in all of your ventures.
Yeah.
And he says, but one thing you should all realize. Corvus is dead, and I have no need of friends. And he grabs his bride and sinks his teeth into her neck and rips it open, and blood goes everywhere. And at the same time, everybody is so incredibly startled. You also, if you drank the wine, notice that you are choking on poison.
I did not drink it. I don't know if Galerius drank it.
The Tilius grabs a gladius from one of the soldiers standing nearby in formal dress and just starts slashing everyone in the crowd. He seems to move with preternatural speed. He cuts the heads off of the
Can I jump off the barge? Because I didn't drink for wine.
Okay.
And just swim.
Swim for Spain.
You don't seem to be the only one. There is insane noise. Even those of you who were his friends, he doesn't seem to hesitate to kill you if you're not already dead from the poison.
I've got a lineage to make. That's why I need to swim. I need to swim.
So we move now back to the 1920s as you get to the last page. I forget who was reading, but this is the last page.
Let's see here. I tell you now, upon my honor, that the events that transpired are as I have told them. I am not a direct witness except to the last part, but being the brother of the bride, I was close friends with them. It was the noblemen of the Fortis Falcones themselves who shared with me these stories in the days preceding the wedding, and no man can call them liars. The terrible destruction that followed, the deaths of almost all on board the plethora, including my beloved sister, Eudocia, attest to the fact that something horrible now walks the land. If you ask how it is that I survived, I will tell you that I did not drink that day in respect to my sister's wishes. When the guests first began to choke on the poison, it was one of the soldiers who fell against me and knocked me overboard. Before I could get back on board, I realized the treachery of that monster who we once called Tilius Corvus. I saw him smite the servants who did not drink. I saw him cut down his own family and rip out my sister's throat. I saw him revel in the blood. I saw him drink it like wine. Those of his own men strong enough to resist the poison he slaughtered with a spathia. In horror, I swam hard and fast for the shore. I thought I would drown from exhaustion. I was in terror that he would find me, and so I hid myself for many weeks. It is only now that I give this account. I fear that you will find it unbelievable, but it is true. The evil one walks among us, seeking whom he may devour. Oh, do you think that this Tilius Corvus has been our gargoyle that's been following us? Who killed Faccia, who stole the voice of Katerina?
Quite possibly.
Of course, he's not Tilius. He's the thing that wore the body of Unwin and probably other bodies before that.
And after.
Yes.
It's probably that horrible count that was in France. Remember the stories of his...
No, but the count was the leper.
Maybe the leper was also Tilius.
Unwin Galoeth, as in the Gaelic name.
I'll say one thing. If I'd been the medicus in that group, I would not have brought Tilius's unconscious body out of that pit, but beheaded him down there once he'd been spewed upon by the blood of that thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
We know more than these poor Romans did.
I wonder if that caldera still exists. I wonder if that temple is still hidden in those mountains.
Well, I mean, from the way they described it, that whatever structures were down there were terribly, terribly old.
Yeah,
and the simulacrum was there for eons, waiting.
Such a massive.
I mean, Sedefkar then didn't create the simulacrum; he found it.
Fabricated it from parts of that thing.
right. Our players included Morgan Llewellyn, David Gassaway, Stuart Lively, Keith Craig, and Josh Harwood, with yours truly as a keeper of arcane lore. We have a Discord server where you can chat with other members, you can set up private games, you can learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastering. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. If you'd like to help support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 a month helps us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answer any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.